Will everyone please join me in Gassho as I recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. Of those who encounter the power of the primal vow, not one passes by in vain. They are filled with the treasure ocean of virtues, the defiled waters of their blind passions not separated from it. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and a happy early Memorial Day. I do know that, technically speaking, tomorrow is Memorial Day, but here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple, we take this Sunday to observe this most important holiday, and we also take this Sunday to go and visit our past loved ones at the various cemeteries in the Tacoma area as well. I would like to thank all of you for coming today, even though I know we are a little bit, there's a little bit less of us here in the Hondo, and it is perfectly fine that probably the vast majority of people utilize Memorial Day as an opportunity to take a 3-day weekend holiday. So I am certain that the vast majority of our congregation is on a vacation somewhere or out of town, and this is totally fine. Taking a vacation and taking a break is very important for our mental and emotional health. And of course, it's wonderful that we have a 3-day weekend to take that opportunity. It is also important for us to remember what Memorial Day is for. This is a holiday that is observed every year to commemorate the soldiers of our country here in the United States who have paid the ultimate price during their times of conflict. It is a time for us to reflect on the lives of those who were lost during battle and an active military duty for the service of our country. As Buddhists, yes, it is very common for us to think of ourselves as a peaceful religion, which we very much are. This does not, of course, everything that I say today does not mean that I support war, or does not mean that the institution of Honganji supports war, or that we think that war is a good thing, or that we want more conflict. However, it is still possible to not support war, to oppose war, and to not want conflict, and yet at the same time honor those who have fallen in this, in battle and in the service of our country. I know this might seem like a slight oxymoron, but when we think about the Gosandai, or the quote that I read today from Master Shinran Shonin, we realize that Amida Buddha's primal vow, Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion, the acceptance of everybody to the Pure Land, is for everybody, including soldiers. And for those of us who might need a reminder as well, many of those who are currently in service, who are veterans from the military and who served in World War II, who served in Vietnam, Korea, all of the major conflicts of the United States, are also Buddhist as well. It is true that we do not want any more conflict in this world, and that we are very saddened to see conflict happening around the globe. We see the horrible war that is going on between Russia and Ukraine. We see the horrible violence that is happening right now in the Middle East. And all we want as Buddhists is for peace to prevail upon this world. But at the same time, we also recognize those who have fallen before us in the service of their country as well, and realize that the Buddha's compassion touches even them. To bring up an example, those of you know I am a 4th-generation Japanese American. I have Nisei relatives, Nisei relatives, 2nd-generation Japanese Americans, who fought for the 442nd during World War II, and one who actually served as as part of the military intelligence and the MIS. I also have family who served for the imperial forces of Japan during World War II. My great uncle was a Tokai pilot, better known for Americans as a kamikaze pilot, who perished in the Battle of Okinawa when he crashed his plane into a ship. I remember actually my Uncle Machi's, Masato, my Uncle Machi's funeral in Lodi, California. The moment that brought me to tears the most was not the eulogy given by the family members, was not the sermon or the chanting or the singing. The moment that brought me to tears the most was when a fellow 442nd officer came up to offer Oshoko. And after he oshokoed, he saluted my Uncle Mach. I don't know what it was, but realizing and seeing that brotherhood between two soldiers was so touching. But realizing as well that my Uncle Mach was a devout Jodo Shinchu Buddhist, and so were many other soldiers who served for him. At the same time, the soldier, my great uncle, who perished during the Battle of Okinawa, I had an opportunity to visit his gravesite as well in Japan. He was buried, or his tomb was erected in Kumamoto Prefecture in Yamagashi, very countryside, near the old family house actually. And for those of you who have seen the Studio Ghibli movie Totoro, probably remember that the family there moved to this beautiful countryside of Japan. So that is where my family is in Kumamoto Prefecture. And I remember visiting my family there for the first time, but then later on during my ministerial career, during my studies, having my family, my American family, come to visit my Japanese family in Japan, in Kumamoto. All of us went together to pay respects to our past loved ones at the gravesite there, including my great uncle who was a Tokai pilot. I remember my family members, since they knew that I was a soryo, a priest, asking me to perform a hakamairi, or a small service in front of his gravesite. And I was filled with deep emotion as well. It is interesting how I myself, and many others as well, are most likely related to people who fought on two opposing sides of the war. And now that World War II is over, and Japan and America are now considered to be allies, it is very important for us to remember the sacrifices that were made before us. And yet, at the same time, it is also important for us to remember as Buddhists these lessons so we do not have to go to war again. It is very, very much important for us to remember the fallen soldiers, but also equally important for us as those who have lived beyond them, and because of them, continue to live in peace and harmony so we don't have to go to war again. And at the same time, all of this being said, realizing as well that the infinite wisdom and compassion that is Amida Buddha touches all of those who have gone before us and continues to touch us with wisdom and compassion still in this very life. We are still very much linked with those who have departed before us. Just because they are no longer living on this physical plane doesn't mean that they still don't have lessons to teach us. Doesn't mean we still cannot live by their wisdom. Doesn't mean that we do not honor their sacrifice. As we continue to wade through this wonderful weekend, I consider this a deep honor and a privilege for me as a priest to visit the various graves of our past loved ones, and once again remind myself as a human being of this world that all beings, alive and departed, are still interconnected. The sacrifices made by the soldiers who came before us are not easily thought about today. I myself have never served in battle. I do not know the horrors of war. I see terrible things on the television when we talk about the current conflicts that are happening today. I heard there was a member of the Sacramento Betsuin where I grew up who had to go serve in Iraq and Afghanistan during the times that we were also in conflict in the Middle East. I do not know the horrors, and am so very grateful that I do not have to know the horrors of war. But because of this, because I do not know the horrors of these conflicts and the horrors of the battlefield, it is incumbent upon me and all of us to thank those who have served in battle and to realize that we are here today largely because of them. We cannot take our military for granted, at the same time hoping we never have to use them. We cannot take our military for granted and think, and especially our veterans who are still alive today, after they've served a most terrible, terrible conflict, and cast them off to the side. We must care for all beings, including our veterans, and live with the example of Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. All of us, I'm certain, in the audience or in the gauging today are related to a veteran, are related to one who has been lost in battle. If you are, in which you most likely are, please light a stick of incense for them in memory of them and say the Nembutsu, realizing that their actions are also in large part of why we are here today. We can learn from our past veterans, the past sacrifices, and the past hardships that were endured. Even though I may never know, and I hope to never know, the scars and the horribleness of war, I take this time to thank in memoriam all of those who have perished in battle. I would like to thank you all today for coming and observing this memorial service with us. In closing, will you please join me in Gassho as I recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. Of those who encounter the power of the primal vow, not one passes by in vain. They are filled with the treasure ocean of virtues, the defiled waters of their blind passions not separated from it. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam Mandats, Nam Mandats, Nam.